What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Season 1, maybe of multiple, I don't know, I don't care. Episode 1, A Normal Amount of Rage, and what am I even doing here? I mean, obviously I took a bit of a hiatus from Marvel, and no surprise why. I mean, I was getting really... the Marvel fatigue, everybody's been talking about it. I didn't really feel it for a little while. I started to feel it. Some of the movies, a couple of the shows, really starting to get up under my skin, started to get really bland and boring, and the writing really took a drop. A couple of shows I even skipped, like this one, because I looked at the trailer, I looked at what was being presented and said, this doesn't seem like my type of thing. But it is part of the MCU, and I'm sure these characters will show up at some point. So yeah, She-Hulk is one. Like I said, I didn't watch it when it first came out. It's the first thing that I skipped from Marvel. There are multiple that followed. But when I watched the trailer, it did not really interest me. It seemed like it was not a show directed at me. And the more that I read, obviously online opinion can be so skewed. But the more I read, the more I was like, yeah, this is probably not a show for me. Watching the first episode, this is not a show for me. This is a show intended for women to watch. And that's basically it. And, you know, sure, you can have stuff that's more promoted toward women, but this is a Marvel show, you know, like, not saying there are no women Marvel fans out there, but if you're going to gear a show toward women, you're losing a big chunk of your fan base with that. Maybe there are some guys that are just excited to see She-Hulk and they're going to watch this and not care about how much women are better than men is in this episode, but for a majority of your audience that are men, they're not going to enjoy watching a show that basically goes, hey, guess what, men? Women are better than you and you suck. And that's kind of how this episode feels. And I was really worried about it when it first started out. And then it just kept going. Because that first scene where she's explaining her closing argument and the one guy's in there, you need to smile more. You need to do this. You know what? Maybe I should just take it. I'm like, okay, let me guess. The men are always going to be the bad guys. The men are the problem. The men are bad. But she's amazing. And sure enough, as soon as he's out of the room, her little assistant, or I don't remember what she's called now, but she's like, you're so amazing. You're so awesome. That was the best thing ever. Oh my gosh. And it's a bad sign for your show whenever, instead of showing us how amazing she is, you have characters tell us about how amazing she is. Show don't tell is one of the basic lines in writing. But so often I see this where you've got a character that you want to build up as being so awesome, so amazing, so this and that. Felicity from Arrow is a great example. If you watch that show, so often you got these characters talking about what an amazing character she is. But if you're watching the show, you know she's really not that great. She's kind of an asshole sometimes. She's very hypocritical. There's a lot of stuff about her that just, you go, you're kind of annoying me right now. But all the characters talk about her like she's the best thing that ever happened. So when you start off with that, it's not a good sign, and it just keeps going from there. You got the asshole guys that try to, hey baby, how you doing at the bar and all that. That was just one of those, yeah, there are creepy guys out there. They exist. Of course, it has to happen in this show because we have to show, hey, guys are like this. Guys are just like this. And then she starts training with Bruce, and I'm thinking, okay, well, based on what I've seen so far, Bruce is going to try to teach her all of this stuff about how to be the Hulk because he's learned how to do it after years and years and years and years of experience. She's going to find a way to do it no problem without his help. Exactly. And it's one of those things where it's not interesting to watch. Sure, you've probably got some women that are sitting there going, yeah, woo, yeah, we're so great, we're awesome. But from an audience perspective, if you're just watching for the narrative, if you're watching for the story, what would be more interesting? Watching a girl who can just go in there and be amazing and awesome because she's just amazing and awesome, and that's it? Or would you like to see a girl who has to struggle to learn how to control her powers? Maybe she is strong, independent, doesn't want to listen to anybody else's advice because she thinks she can do it on her own. And then she starts to realize, no, wait, she needs help. And then once she finally gives in and says, okay, fine, you know what you're doing because you've done this for longer. What do I do? And then she takes on his advice, and then she gets better than him because she listened to his advice. That would be a great story. But that would imply that, no, that means she needs help from a man. So that's not going to fly with us. We don't want her to have help from a man. We want her to just do it all on her own. Boom. There's your story. How is that interesting? How is that an interesting narrative? It's not. First of all, it's been done to death. How many stories like this have we seen now? I mean, by the time this came out, so many stories were doing this. So many girl power, women empowerment movies and shows and all of that have been made by this point. So this is absolutely nothing new. But it's also, if you look at the narrative, if you look at the story aspect of it, how does it make sense that she gets these powers and within, a couple of days, a couple of weeks maybe, at most, she's just all of a sudden like, yeah, no, I don't need your help. I got this. No problem. It doesn't make sense unless you just want... I know this term has been thrown around a lot, but if you just want to marry Sue who can just, oh, I got it. It's not interesting. It's not interesting to see a character who's just suddenly amazing at everything and doesn't struggle at all. And she never really did. Even in the moments where there was a tiny bit of a struggle, it wasn't really a struggle. It was just these moments where she was getting frustrated because Bruce wasn't listening to her. And then she got frustrated. His teaching wasn't working. And then next thing you know, his teaching doesn't even matter because she found a way to do it on her own. And that's not interesting. It is not interesting to have a character like that because, again, there's no struggle to it. The journey is half of the story. But we're already with a character who is just there. She gets the powers and boom. No journey of trying to learn how to control it. No journey of trying to figure out how to adjust to this new life. No, she just... I'm going to go back to my old life and I can control this no problem because, yeah, I'm a woman and I have to control my anger every day because being a woman is hard. And yeah, that's it. That's all you need to know. That's not enough. So anyways, all of that aside, because obviously that's coming from my perspective as somebody who is not a woman. And I realize that probably for a lot of people is already going to write off my opinion as like, you can't talk about this show. You don't know what it's like. I obviously don't know what it's like to be a woman. I can tell you that this doesn't help me understand anymore because this is not an interesting story. But outside of that, though, you just look at how this episode is shot, how it's acted, the dialogue. It's so all over the place. Like when it starts, first we're in the room and all of a sudden she's talking to the audience, which I do know that's a thing with her apparently. No idea when it started, how it started, why it started. It just is here because, oh, well, she did it in the comics, so she's going to do it here too. It's like, yeah, but thing is with Deadpool and the Deadpool movies, when he did it, he basically, I mean, we all know Deadpool. We all know that he does this and he starts it off doing this right away. With her, it's like, it seems like she's talking to the audience, but then we find out she's actually talking to people in the room. So then they leave, but then she turns and talks to the audience. And then we go back and she's not talking to the audience anymore. And then all of a sudden she just does it out of nowhere and randomly. Like it didn't elevate the scene at all. It didn't add anything. It was just like, well, we need a narrative structure for why we're going back in time to see her beginning as the Hulk. So let's just have her narrate to the audience because she breaks the fourth wall, right? And then she makes one joke turning to the audience to say something about, I don't remember what the joke was now, but it just wasn't funny. And I'm just, you're using your fourth wall breaking for that one moment and it didn't even land. You failed. But I mean, after that opening scene though, it just it's all over the place. I mean, she's here in the car with Bruce and all of a sudden there's a ship there. That ship doesn't even come back into the episode after that. Don't have any idea what that's supposed to be. She's off the cliff. She's rolling in the car. All of a sudden her blood gets infected with Bruce's blood. She turns into a Hulk. Now she's just out in the woods, goes to a bar. These women help her out. She goes out, hit on by some men, trying to pick her up, being all pervy. She hulks out. Bruce comes in, knocks her out. She wakes up in this cabin, and now her and Bruce are talking about it. All of that happened probably within 5 minutes. And I realize these are shorter episodes. I mean, this one was 38, and that's the longest that I see in the first 4 episodes. But you still have to have some sort of semblance of time. You have to pace yourself. And this was just, we're in the office, we're taking it slow. She's giving her closing speech, and then boom, 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 boom. And now we're slow at the cabin. We're talking through some stuff, and then boom, 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 she's training. And then we're slowing it down again so she can give her little speech about how hard it is to be one. And then boom, 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 we're fighting. And it just, you got to find a way to pace that doesn't feel so chaotic and feel like you have no control over the story whatsoever. That's not what that felt like. So yeah, the pacing was not good. The acting, it's okay. I will say, as much as I like Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, when he's in the smart Hulk form, really doesn't come off very well. Like he's a good actor and I like him as Bruce Banner, but the smart Hulk, it sounds, because obviously he's doing a lot of ADR. I don't know. There's something about it that feels, it doesn't match up with what I'm seeing. And I kind of wish, and maybe they did do this and it's just, they still had him ADR anyway, but I really wish they just had him in the room doing these lines as if he's acting and then do the CGI over him. But I don't know how they did all of that. If that's what they did, then I don't know. Maybe he felt like he had to overact with his voice and it didn't come off very well compared to the CGI that they did. Because it feels like his voice is going at 100%. And his facial expressions on the Smart Hulk are going at like 50, if that. And it feels like a big disconnect. Jen, the actress playing her, though, I mean, she's doing fine. There definitely is a bit of a haughty nature to her that reminds me a bit of Captain Marvel. So already kind of a little put off by that because it was another movie that I was not a big fan of for reasons. But there's that feel that she thinks she's better than everybody else. And I don't know, I would kind of like to see that bravado be brought down a little bit to make her a little bit more interesting, because I'm not a big fan of characters in general that are just constantly, I'm the best, I'm amazing, I don't need your help type of thing. And that's what she's been so far. So also, one other thing that just popped into my head that was kind of a stupid thing as far as the action and what happened in the show. There's a moment whenever she's trying to drive out in the Jeep, and then all of a sudden she just takes off with him on the hood and then throws him into some rocks. Hulk can't beat Jeep. And maybe he just didn't want to stop the Jeep because he didn't want to hurt her. But it's still, I mean, he got chucked into those rocks. It was not just he fell off and he hit the rock. No, he went flying. And I'm sorry, Jeeps do not have that kind of power to just sling him off and that doesn't work like that. But the final thing to talk about, though, is the dialogue, because that's where I feel like this show, at least so far, the first episode, the writing's not good. There are so many jokes that don't land, and you could tell that they are playing for a joke. There's no pause, like they're waiting for the audience to finish laughing, like you would see in a sitcom or in movies whenever they're waiting for the audience in the movie theater to stop laughing, because obviously this is streaming. But there are definitely moments when the way that the actress playing Jen, or the way that Mark Ruffalo delivered their lines, I could tell they're playing for a joke. This is a punchline, and there was no real humor there. I can't remember any off the top of my head now. That's how little impact they left on me. There were just certain lines that I could tell the way they said it was like a quirky little one-liner, and it didn't make me laugh. And most of the time, those quirky little one-liners in other Marvel products do get at least a chuckle at worst out of me. So the fact that I did not find myself laughing, I don't think at all. Now, granted, the Captain America joke about him being a virgin and all that, I don't know if that would have made me laugh. I can't remember if I laughed when I first saw it, because it did pop up as a meme for a little while. So maybe that would have been funny, but everything else in this episode was just not landing as far as jokes go. But yeah, so that's about it for this episode. I'm going to try to power through this season. Oh, we got other Marvel stuff on the way. I probably will do similar to what I did with Star Wars. I'll break it up a little bit. So I'll go a couple of series and then move on to something else and then come back to Marvel. But yeah, this is definitely a difficult place to start. And I was really hoping to at least find some enjoyment. And so far, it's not looking good. It's not looking like I'm going to have a fun time with this. And that's kind of sad. So, all that being said, though, on to the next episode. I'll see you there. And now, episode 2, Superhuman Law. So this one was better, but not by much. Main parts that made it better, first of all, she actually did have to be humbled a little bit in this episode. losing her job, realizing that by becoming superhuman, that means it's going to be difficult for her to be an attorney as well, which makes sense. You know, a lot of these places, if they know what you are capable of, there is going to be that concern. And also, I mean, as we saw, there was a mistrial declared because of what happened with the jury. And how many juries are going to be swayed by the fact that we got She-Hulk as a lawyer? Awesome. Like, there's already going to be a bit of a bias because she's seen as a hero. So I kind of understand a lot of these law firms not wanting to take her on. And so that's why I think it's kind of an interesting idea to have a superhuman law division. I don't know why or how that works, but I guess we're just going to be in here for this. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for at least that, and we'll see what they decide to do with it. But at the moment, I am a little nervous that this feels like it's just going to be very hastily and sloppily put together. But with that being said, there were also definitely funnier moments in this episode. There were several scenes that did feel a lot more clever, a lot better writing. The scene with the dad, I will say, the whole scene with the family, I didn't like at all. It was very weirdly put together. The pacing, the dialogue. There is this weird thing they're doing where she continues to talk over somebody who's trying to get a word in edgewise. I don't understand if that's just a character trait of hers or if they think that's funny. I don't know what they're doing with that, but there was a scene in the garage after, that happens when she's talking with her dad. She's talking over him a lot. He has a moment where he's like, look, this isn't the first Hulk we've had in the family, and you didn't even destroy a city. It was a good line. It made me laugh. There was also the scene with Bruce later on where he's talking about the fight with Emil and the whole, I'm a totally different person now. It was funny until you had to really, really hammer that nail in, because he goes, literally, she turns to the camera and says, haha. And then I all my joy was gone. It was like, I was laughing. I was like, he's a different person, literally. Okay, yeah, now you've, haha. All right, now you killed it. You killed the joke. I know a thing or two about killing jokes because I was that kid in high school. Sometimes I still am that person now that I've grown up. That one kid that puts the joke a little bit too far. It's funny, and somebody else said something, adds on to it. It's funny, and then I said something and I killed the joke because I took it too far, or I said something that wasn't funny and that ruined the momentum the joke had. I was that kid, and you just did what I did as a kid in a professionally made show. You killed a joke. Who are the writers? Get me their number and let me tell them how to not kill a joke. Because just don't do what I would do. And that's something I would do. You have the joke. I'm a totally different person now. Funny. Don't say anything else. Leave it there. Literally. Ha. Dead. But the other thing that I do think brought this episode up, at least for me personally, is getting to see Tim Roth again. I like Tim Roth as an actor. I was a big fan of the show Lie to Me, and he was a great character on that, Cal Lightman. So to see him be back in the MCU is a lot of fun. I don't really know what to expect from this. I feel like it would be a little too obvious if she gets him out on parole, and then he turns out to be a bad guy still. Like, he actually doesn't mean anything he's saying. So I kind of hope that he does. And it's a weird feeling, because on the one hand, if she does get him out on parole and he actually is a changed man and he gets out and everything's fine with him, there is going to be a feeling of, okay, so where do we go from here then? And I'm a little concerned that they may not have enough story for this season. But also, if they do go with that and he is a bad guy, then it's going to feel cliche. So I feel like no matter how this story ends, I'm probably not going to be that big of a fan of it, unless they decide to stretch out this case over the entire season, which I don't really know how you would do that and still make it interesting for that long. But at the same time, like I said, I'm excited to see more of Emil in this. I want to see where his story is going to go. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Tim Roth, so it's going to be fun to see him in action again. Obviously, referencing what happened in Shang-Chi, you had to bring that up at some point, because, what was going on there? What exactly was Wong doing with him was that China that they went to? I don't even remember where they were now. But yeah, it's a funny little conclusion to leave off on. Still does have the ruining of the joke at the end when she looks. Honestly, that's the thing about it. A lot of Deadpool's fourth wall breaking is to make a joke, is to make us laugh. A lot of She-Hulk's wall breaking so far has been to ruin a joke. It's a joke that then she turns to the audience to try to make the joke funnier. And it's not working. It's killing the joke every time. And then the one random scene in the office when she's talking to us, she's monologuing about what's going on in her brain. Is that the only reason why they decided to do this fourth wall thing for the show? Like, is that the only reason they decided? Because they're not using it for any other reason than to, one, again, kill the joke, or two, explain what's going on in her head. That's not interesting. You're either killing a joke or you're expositing. Neither of those things work. Neither of those things are interesting for us, the audience, to watch. So the fourth wall breaks for me it's what's killing it for me. And it's not helped by the fact that, yeah, it's been done better by another superhero. And now obviously the Deadpool and Wolverine is now in the MCU. That's also made this look a lot worse because his fourth wall breaks work so much better. So I'm still overall not having a good time. I'm still not really looking forward to this season. But I will say there were elements of this that I did like a bit better. I do hope we get to see a little bit more of the dad. I don't want to see any more of the family. The family is that whole her mom, her aunt and uncle, the cousin. I don't know how they're all related to her, but the rest of them were just obnoxious. They're all stereotypes. They're all cliches. The mom is such a cliche. It's all very frustrating. The dad, it seems like he's a decent person on top of the fact that also he had a good heart-to-heart moment with her, and that's when the pace kind of slowed down a little bit. But yeah, the rest of the family was just obnoxious, and they played no part other than just, well, we want her, she's already hit a low by losing her job and not being able to find another job, so let's drag her further down by having this obnoxious scene with her family. And it felt unnecessary. Again, I was glad that she was not on top of the world anymore after the first episode. I'm glad that she now has to pick herself back up from the murk and rise up again. But that scene just felt like there are better ways to show her getting shit and not really working her way up and kind of falling down further without making it annoying. And the family made it annoying, unfortunately. The final thing, and this is just because I sat through so many CW Arrowverse shows. Please show me some action. Please show me some action. Because we got a little bit of a fight scene between her and Bruce in the first episode. The fight scene between her and Titania, or whatever her name was, that was awful. It was terrible editing. It wasn't that fun. No fight in this at all. No fight scene whatsoever. And I get she's She-Hulk attorney at law, which means probably going to be focusing on her being an attorney as well. But still, she's She-Hulk. You know, it's a Marvel property. I want to see fight scenes. I'm here to watch superheroes fight bad guys and win the day. Please do not make this all about the attorney at law stuff, because then just call it Jen Walters attorney at law. You don't need to call her She-Hulk attorney at law, because there's no need for She-Hulk in this case. But anyways, with all that being said, on to the final of these 3 episodes. See you there. And now episode 3, The People versus Emil. How did it do that? How did it somehow simultaneously get better, but also so much worse? Wait, why am I asking? I know how. Wong and Emil, that's how it got better. Everything else, that's how it got 10 times worse. Oh my god. I don't remember watching a show that simultaneously could have me laughing in 1 minute, and then the very next minute I want to pluck my eyeballs out because what am I watching? Because this show, when it gets bad, it's painfully bad. Like it is. If it's funny because I'm about to reference this, but actually I've heard mostly mixed and kind of it's okay reviews about this Murder Mystery on Netflix, the Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler movie. Painfully unfunny. Trying to do so many jokes and I didn't laugh, and it hurts that I'm not laughing because they're trying so hard and it's failing. That's this show. Painfully unfunny. The writing in this show is ridiculously unfunny. And it's like they think they have something. The whole Dennis storyline, I I wanted to fast forward through it. If it were easier to fast forward, I might have. Because my God, what? First of all, why is Dennis Stevens still around? I thought he was just a throwaway joke character about how men are so, oh yeah, they think they're all shit and stuff, and but they're not really. They're just pervy and they're just all about attention and blah blah. I thought that was just a throwaway joke for him, but now all of a sudden here he is, and he has his own side story in this episode, and it's stupid. It's so stupid. How it starts is stupid. How it stops, how it ends is stupid. It's all stupid. Like, who was writing this story and thought, oh yeah, we're going to have this Dennis guy and he's going to be all sleazy and grimy. And isn't it funny how men are just so sleazy and grimy and they think they're all that hot shit, but they're actually not. And so we're going to have him thinking he's dating a rapper, Megan Thee Stallion, you know, somebody who's so amazing and awesome and powerful and so cool. Because again, you know, instead of showing us why Megan Thee Stallion is so amazing, let's just tell us why. Oh, she's won this and this and she's won Grammys and oh my gosh, she's just so phenomenal. She's a great. You're telling me again why she's amazing. You're not showing me. And honestly, I mean, I don't know much about Megan Thee Stallion. I obviously am not a fan of her music because that's not my style of music. But I mean, the little bit you showed me in this episode, not telling me why she's such an amazing person. The little bit you showed of her, I'm annoyed more than anything. And obviously the She-Hulk twerking thing was all over social media for a while. So thank you for that, Megan Thee Stallion. But just so stupid. His whole story. There was nothing funny about it. There's even a scene whenever all of a sudden Pug comes into the bar to sit with them and starts talking. And She-Hulk, once again, with her oh so important fourth wall break. Great way to tie A and B together, or story A and B together, or whatever like that. How is that funny? I'm assuming it was supposed to be a joke because the way, again, she said it as if it were a joke, but it was not funny. It was just okay, yeah, you can break the fourth wall. Like, it's honestly, it's on the same level. It's funny because I almost wonder now watching this. I almost wonder if Deadpool and Wolverine, there was a slight jab at this with the nice pull joke, where he's like, oh yes, I can lightly brush the fourth wall, or however he said it, and then just turns the proposal. I almost feel like they're taking shots. I know they're probably not, but that's what this is like. It's like they think that's what breaking the fourth wall is you just look at the camera and you say something. It doesn't matter what you say, as long as you say something to the camera and it has a reference to whatever's going on in the scene, well, that's breaking the fourth wall, right? That's how we do it. What's the point, though? There's no point to it. You're not adding anything. Most of the time, you're taking away from the scene whenever you do it. So, all of that aside, as far as the Emil and Wong and all of that stuff, before I talk about the good stuff, because I want to end this review on a happy note, everything to do with the social media stuff, it's been done. It's been you have all this commentary about social media. It's been done. And the thing is, they're not even talking about it really. They're just showing that it exists. Oh, look, social media. All these people are talking. They're skewing the stories how they want to skew it. Okay? And? No, that's just it. That's what happens on social media. Oh, well, get in there and tell your own story. Okay, she tries to, and guess what? They still skew it to their view. They still skew it to the story they want it to be about. And, like, most people know this by now. What are you saying that's different than anybody else? Nothing. And it's just an annoyance because it takes up so much time. And again, it doesn't go anywhere. We just see all these social media posts and all these people talking bad about her, all these people talking good about her, all these journalists that are trying to get this story and they're making up stories about her. I'm just like, okay, yeah, there's a ton of journalism out there that's just about getting the big story. It doesn't matter about the truth or not, blah, blah, blah. We get it. What are we going to do about it? Okay, well, she's going to get on the news and tell the story and make sure she can shape the narrative. And now the guy's like, well, how did you come up with the name She-Hulk? That's not shaping the narrative. Well, let's talk about her diet and exercise. First of all, it's not how the news works. They don't just bring on a celebrity guest and just go, all right, so now we're just going to ask you a bunch of random questions you haven't prepared for. Most of the time on a news show like this, where they're interviewing somebody, they give them the questions before. They give them a list of what they're going to talk about, so that way they can prepare to talk about it. This is not like a 60 Minutes type of, I don't even know if that's what they do on 60 Minutes, but just that the one-on-one where it's like, all right, I'm going to ask you all these questions to catch you off guard so we can get your raw answers. And even some of those are staged to make it seem like, oh, I didn't know you were going to ask me that. So that is also stupid. But basically, you've gone through this whole episode to say, hey, social media, they skew the story. The way to get around it is get out there and tell the story, and then she does, and then it doesn't change anything. It's still the story is getting skewed. So what was the point of all of that? Because again, we all know, or at least most people should know at this point, that stories on media, on social media, they're going to be skewed. Whether they're hiding information or whether they're just blatantly lying, there's going to be skewed information on there. But finally, to the good stuff, which, to be fair, it actually was not that much, because, I mean, Wong and Emil, it's not like they took up that much of this episode. Probably about 15%, if I had to guess. They were the best part, though. And it's funny because a writing team who clearly doesn't know how to make jokes or anything, these actors know how to at least deliver on these lines that are not funny to make me laugh. You know, Wong, some of the stuff he's saying was not that funny, but God, he knows how to deliver a line to make it comedic. I can't remember exactly what line it was, but there was one when he was talking to Jen about the whole defense thing for Emil. There was a line he said that I just remember thinking, that's not funny, but I'm still laughing because, God, the way he said it was just hilarious. Like, he's good at it. And then again, Tim Roth, great at playing this character. He just has a way of playing this sort of nonchalant, very seemingly uncaring, but there's something about the way he delivers his lines. This whole thing with the 7 pen pals, I mean, to be fair, it's kind of stupid, it's kind of ridiculous, but the way he delivers it, the way he talks about these women, his other eighths, it gotta laugh. Like, it's bizarre to me that these two somehow can bring out humor in a show which is mostly devoid of it. And again, what's also weird to me is that Jen, the actress playing her, she's also a good actress, but for some reason, the way she's delivering the lines, it's like, it's one of those, can the actor be funnier than the lack of comedy in the dialogue? And Tim Roth and Benedict Wong, they have that capability. Jen, she's not that comedic. She's a good actress, but the comedy side of her is not quite there. So a lot of her scenes fall flat on their face. And it's really sad too, because I can't blame her. It's not her. I'm sure if she was given funnier lines, she would probably be funnier. There are certain actors that are just not good with comedy. And so you give them lines that aren't funny, they're not going to make them funny. They're not going to suddenly change the dialogue and make it, oh, that's super comedic. So it's really frustrating that I see the potential of what could be funny. I see the potential of what could, the scene where Wong leaves, you know, the whole parole hearing and stuff, that the guy is talking to him at the end and saying, you know, you realize you committed a crime by letting this guy out of prison. Just, I have to leave now. And it opens the portal and leaves. That's funny, but it continues on after that. It's like, it starts with a good joke. He gets up quickly, opens the portal, closes it behind him quickly, and then it holds. And then Jen walks over and adjusts the mic and then stands there and like all awkward, like, and that's not funny. You held on the shot for 10 extra seconds that were not needed. I think that about sums it up, though. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure this is it for Abomination. He truly does seem like he's changed. It seems to be setting up some sort of guy that wants her, like, blood for something. I don't know. Maybe this boss wants to be a Hulk too, possibly. Maybe. It just feels unnecessary and out of nowhere. The guys, when they first showed up, even, it felt like they wanted to represent the trolls online, the men that were going to be like, oh yeah, you can't go strutting around like that if you can't prove it. It's like, this is what all the guys are going to think about our show. This is what the men online are going to say about it. So we're going to put them in the show and have them get their asses kicked. Okay, yeah, you have a fight scene finally. We don't know anything about why. It's not that interesting if you don't give us a good reason as to why. And all we really got was, oh yeah, I couldn't stick it in her when she turned into that ugly green thing. Oh, the boss isn't going to be happy about this. Okay, so their boss wants her blood, probably to become a Hulk. You already gave away most of the mystery of who these guys could possibly be with just that. And also, they're not much of a threat if even their weapons can't even really do anything to her. So it feels pointless. And it's weird because, again, not much fighting in the show so far. This is our true first fight scene. It was over too quickly, and it had no real reason to happen outside of we got to build up probably some big bad that's going to show up later this season. I'm not invested in that. You have to give me a fight that I'm invested in. I want to see the outcome of it. I want to see her take on somebody that is going to be a true threat and actually challenge her. None of that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I shouldn't be surprised. This is about what I was expecting from the show. I was expecting to be frustrated. I was expecting to dislike a lot of it. And that's how it is. I've at least had some things to grasp onto. I've had some funny lines here and there that I can enjoy. But all in all, it's a pretty painful show. Painfully unfunny. Very, very over the top in a lot of its themes and messages. And those themes and messages are not intended for me. So it doubly doesn't work in my favor. Oh, it's part of the MCU, so I'm going to get through this and hopefully get on to, I'm hoping, better things. I've honestly not heard many great things about most of the shows that I haven't seen yet, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But anyways, with all that being said, that's it for me. Let me know down in the comment section below, what were your thoughts on these first 3 episodes? Let me know, we can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Also, leave a like and subscribe for future She-Hulk reviews. Also, check out the channel. We have Let's Plays going on, as well as a ton of reviews from the past, so check those out if you have time. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you all later. Peace out.